It's 11:58 p.m. in Erie, Pennsylvania. You're 32. On the wall above your desk, there's a sheet of paper. You printed it 13 years ago. It's gone yellow at the corners. On the paper is a number you wrote when you were 19. On the screen below it is the same number, lit up, live, still climbing. For 13 years, they were not the same number. Tonight they are. You've waited for this since before you were old enough to drink. Now it's here. And the loudest thing in the room is the refrigerator. The beginning is older than the number. To understand the number, you have to understand the man who taught you never to believe in anything. You're 9. It's 2003, Erie, Pennsylvania. The lake is gray 9 months of the year, and your father treats every one of those months like the good one is about to start. Your father is named Wayne. Wayne always has a sure thing. This year, the sure thing is scratch tickets. He has a system. He buys them in books, not singles, because the system needs volume. He spreads them on the kitchen table after dinner and works a quarter across the silver like a man doing honest work. When he wins $8, he says, "See?" When he wins nothing, he says, "Tomorrow." Last year, the sure thing was a vending route a guy at the plant was selling. The year before that, it was gold coins off a channel that ran at 3 in the morning. There's a box of them in the hall closet behind the winter coats. You're not supposed to know about the box. Your mother is named Carol. Carol works at the county records office and brings home the same money every 2 weeks. The exact same money. Money that doesn't have a system. She isn't tired of your father. She's tired of the closet. You learn the shape of it early. Hope arrives in your house loud, at the door, at the table, in your father's good mood, and it always, always leaves quiet. A box, a month nobody talks about. So you start counting things you can check. Baseball cards by the number on the back. The change in the coffee can, twice a week, to make sure it matches. Numbers don't have a good mood. Numbers don't say tomorrow. A number you can verify is the opposite of a promise you can't. This is the thing you decide to trust instead of your father. You're 9 years old. It will be 4 years before that decision finds the one number worth making, and a lifetime before it lets you go. You're 13. It's 2007. Wayne's sure thing is energy drinks now. A multi-level thing. There are cases of them stacked in the garage. A flavor called Volt. And a man named Rick who calls the house and says the word downline like it's a place you can drive to. Wayne does a presentation in the living room for the neighbors. 2 people come. One of them is being polite. By spring, the cases are still in the garage. By summer, your mother stops parking inside. You watch your father lose money the way you'd watch weather. Not angry, just learning the pattern. Wayne loses because Wayne feels. He buys when he's hopeful, and he holds when he's proud. And he never once writes down what actually happened. He runs on a good mood, and a good mood is not a system. You decide you'll be the opposite of him in the one way that matters. You will never put money on a feeling. You will only put it on math you can show your work for. You read about markets at the library because the markets are just your father's problem, written large. Millions of people buying on a good mood and selling on a bad one. You start to think the mood is the only thing that ever really moves. You're 17 when you find it. It's 2011. A forum. A line of text that says money runs on a fixed schedule. No mood, no Rick, no downline. The supply is written into it, and the writing cannot be argued with. Every 4 years, the new supply gets cut in half, on time, whether anyone feels good about it or not. You read that twice. A thing that does the opposite of your father. A thing that cannot be talked into hope and cannot be talked out of it. You don't buy much. $40. That part is almost beside the point. And that's the part everyone will get wrong about you later. You're not here to get rich. You're here to be right. You start building a model. You pull every price the thing has ever printed. You map the supply cuts. You fit a curve through the noise. Not the day-to-day, the long arc, the floor that lifts after every crash. You do it on a school laptop with a cracked corner, checking it the way you used to check the coffee can. By the time you're 18, the model isn't a guess anymore. It's a line. The line goes up and to the right, and it does not care how anybody feels. The line points at a number. You sit with the number for a long time. What you decide to do with that number is the mistake you will spend the next 13 years calling the truth. You're 19. It's the fall of 2013. You're taking 2 classes at the community college and stocking a grocery overnight 3 nights a week. Bitcoin just touched $1,000 for the first time. The forum is loud about it. Everyone is throwing out numbers. 10,000, 100,000, 1,000,000 by next year. They're doing what your father does, feeling a number and shouting it. You don't shout. You post the model. You write it up clean. The supply schedule, the regression, the floor that lifts each cycle. You don't round it to look humble or bold. You post exactly what the line says. $237,000 by the end of 2026. 13 years out. To the year. The thread does what threads do. Somebody screenshots the number and adds a clown. Somebody says, check back in 2026, buddy. Somebody does the math on what you'd have to believe and calls it a religion. Within a week, you have a name. They call you 237, not as a compliment, as a punchline you can wear. You could delete it. People tell you to delete it. It would take 4 seconds. You don't. Instead, you print the chart. You walk it home through the cold and tape it to the wall above your desk. The number at eye level, where you have to look at it every single day. And you make yourself a promise. You will not take the post down. You will not move the number. You will not round it, soften it, hedge it, or quietly edit it years from now when nobody's looking. You will let it stand exactly as written until the end of 2026, and then everyone will see. You think being right is a date. You think there's a version of you, older, who gets to walk back into that thread on the last day and say one word, and the word will close every mouth that ever opened at you. You are 19, and you have just done the most dangerous thing a careful person can do. You have made being right the whole point of your life. You don't notice it happen. That's how it always goes. The line on the wall is so clean. The math is so honest. It feels like the opposite of your father's closet full of gold coins. It is not the opposite. It's the same room with better lighting. That night you stock cereal until 4 in the morning, feeling, for the first time in your life, completely certain about something. The certainty will cost you more than any of Wayne's boxes ever cost him. You just don't have the receipt yet. The bill takes 6 years to arrive. When it does, it has a name. Hers is Dana. You're 25. It's 2019. The number is a long way down from where it needs to be. And the forum has mostly forgotten you, which is almost worse than the mocking. You still check the thread. You still answer every new person who finds it and laughs. You've answered the same joke for 6 years. You tell yourself it's discipline. It's closer to a wound you keep open on purpose. You meet Dana at a friend's thing you almost didn't go to. She fixes old film cameras. She talks about light like it's a person she knows. She asks what you do, and you say you work in inventory systems, which is true, and you don't mention the wall, which is also true. For about a year, you're almost a regular man. You sleep through a night without checking a price, which hasn't happened since you were 18. She meets your mother. Carol pulls you into the kitchen and says, quietly, "This one." Just that. This one. But the wall is still the wall. Dana sees it the first night she stays over. The yellowed chart. The number. She thinks it's a joke at first. Then she watches you defend it to a stranger online at 1 in the morning. Your jaw set, your whole body in it, fighting for a forecast like it's a child in a fire. She doesn't ask you to stop believing the number. She never said you were wrong. She asked you to take the post down. Not the belief, the post. She said, you're not waiting for Bitcoin to hit a number. You're waiting for permission to feel like you mattered. And you've decided a thread full of strangers gets to give it to you. She said, no number is going to walk in here in 2026 and undo your dad. The market crashes that year, the way it does. The number gets further away. That's the night Dana asks you, plainly, to choose. Not her or the number. Her or the post. The guarding. The waiting. You tell her she doesn't understand. She says she understands completely. That's the problem. She doesn't leave at a gate, crying, nothing that clean. She just stops staying over. She returns your key in an envelope through the mail slot, neat and final. There's no note. Dana, of all people, knew you'd only have believed a note if it showed its work. You go back to the thread. You're right where you started, except now the apartment is quieter, and the wall is the only thing in it that ever talks back. There is still one person who believes the number. It is the last person on earth you would have chosen. There's one person who never laughed at the number. It's the one you'd never have picked. Wayne, your father. The man who lost on scratch tickets and vending routes and gold coins and Volt. The man whose entire life was a good mood meeting a bad number. He's the only one who read your forum post and believed it without blinking. Of course he did. He was always going to believe the long shot. That's the whole thing that broke him. You spent your life being the careful one, the one who'd never bet on a feeling. And the single soul who stood behind your forecast was the exact kind of believer you'd built yourself to never be. You didn't know what to do with that, so you mostly didn't call. He'd bring it up at holidays. He'd tell the relatives, my son did a calculation. And the relatives would smile the way the neighbors smiled at the energy drinks. You'd change the subject. You were embarrassed to be believed by him, because being believed by Wayne felt like proof you were a dreamer too. And being a dreamer was the one thing you'd organized your whole self against. He got sick in the winter of 2024. It went fast. You drove back to Erie more in those months than you had in years, and you still made most of it about logistics. The parking, the forms, the schedule. You sat in the chair by his bed, and he asked you, near the end, with the oxygen line in, and his voice gone to paper, how the number was doing. You said it was getting close, Dad. He smiled. The good mood. The one you'd spent 30 years refusing to inherit. He said, I always knew you'd be the one of us who was right. He died in March, 2 years before the date. You went back to the apartment after the funeral, and you looked at the wall, and you understood something you'd have given anything not to understand. You hadn't built the model to beat the market. You'd built it to win an argument with a man who was, the entire time, on your side. And now there was no one left on the other side of the argument. Just you, and a yellow piece of paper, and a number that was finally, quietly, starting to come true. In 2 years, the number arrives. You will be alone in the room when it does. It's 2026. The cycle turns up, on schedule, the way the schedule always said it would. No mood, no permission, just the supply doing what was written into it before you were old enough to read. The number starts climbing toward the wall. You'd thought this part would feel like an arrival. You wait for the feeling. It doesn't come. What comes instead is a kind of administrative quiet, like a delivery you ordered so long ago you've forgotten what's in the box. You go looking for the people who were supposed to be standing there when you arrived. The old thread is archived. The forum changed owners twice. Half the usernames that laughed at you are deleted. Dead links. Accounts that haven't posted since a decade ago. 237 isn't a punchline anymore. It isn't anything. You can't be vindicated in front of a room that already emptied out and went home. Dana married someone. You don't know him. The photos are kind, which is worse. She looks like a person who chose to live in the years instead of guarding a door. Wayne is 2 years gone. It's 11:58 p.m. You're 32. The live price crosses the number on the wall. $237,000. And then a dollar more. And the two numbers that were never the same for 13 years are the same for one strange second. And then the real one keeps going, leaving your old paper behind, like a milestone on a road nobody else is driving. You were right. You were exactly, specifically, impossibly right. You open the archived thread out of habit. You type the word you saved for 13 years. You don't post it. There's no one to read it. The mouths you wanted to close, closed for other reasons, or for good. You pick up your phone. You scroll to your father's number, still in there, still saying dad. For 1 second, you let yourself feel like calling it, just to say it's done. It's here. You were right about me. You put the phone down. You look at the screen, at the number that won't stop moving, and you wait, the way you've always waited, for it to mean what you were so sure it would mean. It just keeps climbing. The refrigerator hums. You feel nothing, and the nothing is shaped exactly like a closet full of gold coins behind the winter coats. You finally became your father. You just used better math to get there. Somewhere right now, there's a kid at a kitchen table counting the change in a coffee can twice to make sure it matches, learning not to trust the good mood in the next room. He thinks the number will save him. He thinks being right is a place you arrive. He'll spend a long time finding out it's only ever a paper on a wall. The cycle doesn't know the difference. It just keeps climbing. It always does.